The biggest reason I think I hated myself was because I was different. And because I was different, I felt like I didn't belong and I couldn't really seek out community. Hello friends, it is Jamie and I'm back today for another video. For those of you guys who do not know me, my name is Jamie and I have been transitioned now for almost a decade. With that experience, as well as my training as a nationally board certified coach, I help trans people live into their fullest potential. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about one of my biggest transition challenges, and that is radically loving myself. You see, this all got started yesterday, actually. I was on a drive from Virginia to Wisconsin. It was a long 15-hour drive. I was in the car with my significant other. And as I was driving, I was listening to many different podcasts. And one podcast in particular really spoke to me. As I was listening to this podcast is this idea of radically accepting and radically loving yourself. And the reason why I think this spoke so truly to me is because for the longest time, I had the hardest time accepting who I was and radically accepting and loving me. And I think this is interesting because when I go back into time and I look at myself about why I hated myself, and I brought this up on my YouTube channel before, but I hated myself for many different reasons. And the biggest reason I think I hated myself was because I was different. And because I was different, I felt like I didn't belong and I couldn't really seek out community. You know, I was in a moment where it was so dark and I didn't know how to be. And I didn't know how to love myself. And the only way I thought I could love myself is, you know, saying I will love myself when I have this. Things will be easier when I have this. And I kept with that mindset for a really long time. It makes me think about when I did group therapy. And in group therapy, there was this common theme that was always arising, and that was having friendships. You see, at that time, I was really lonely. I didn't have any friendships. I went the course of almost 4 months where I didn't see or hang out with one friend. But I did go to this group. And many of the people in the group were experiencing the same thing, this idea of loneliness and how to make friends, because that's just what I wanted. And well, that was one thing I thought. I was like, you know, I'll be happy when I have friends. And I just had so much pressure on myself to make a friend. I never ended up making friends. And because I didn't have the friends that I expected or wanted, I grew lonelier and lonelier. And I think of this one individual who was in that group who really experienced the same challenge. It's like we were working, he was working so hard to get a friend. And I was working so hard to get a friend. And in the group dynamic, just so you guys know, like we weren't allowed to see each other outside of the group. It was only therapy and only in that group. So we couldn't have been friends, but he was like the same thing. And it was so challenging. And it made me think that I couldn't love myself because no one else would love me. No one else wanted to be my friend. I tried so hard to be friends, but I felt like I couldn't have a friend that was truly authentic. And at the end of the day, the biggest block was me because I didn't love myself. And when I found out that I couldn't love myself, other people wouldn't be able to love me because there's that bridge, there's that barrier. And so I continued and I persevered and I continued to work on myself. I did group therapy and individual therapy. And I worked and I worked and I worked. I kind of let go of the expectation of finding a friend. And sometimes I felt like that is something what I always needed to do is let go of the expectation and just be present and let things come naturally. So I controlled the things that I could control And I worked on loving myself. And as you guys know, I did. I built up to a place where I was okay being trans. And then I continued to move into a space where I ended up loving myself. And it was a process. It was a couple-year process where it took me to fully, radically love myself. And now I'm at this point where I feel like I love myself and I radically love myself. And it's something that I continuously try to practice every day. And I don't want to take time to go on my high horse and say this is how it happens, but I do want to share a little bit about how it's been since I've started radically loving myself. You know, not waiting for this to happen to love myself, but radically loving myself to let this thing happen, this whatever event. And so what I've experienced really in the last few years is truly unbelievable. You know, I have this new sense of confidence in myself, and I feel like, you know, being trans was a huge challenge, and it might be one of the biggest challenges I ever have in my lifetime, personally. And now being able to look back and see that I have overcome this challenge, and it is something that I struggled through, but I did it. I feel like it has instilled so much confidence in me. Before, I would also walk around and always look at other people and say, oh, if only I could look like that. If only I could be like that, I would be happy. And it turned out I never was happy then. And there's been something that has switched in me where I don't do that anymore. I don't walk around and wish I was other people, because I'm happy being me. And I think that comes from the process of enduring my transition. Taking time to get really deep with myself and face the things that are the most challenging and the most insecure about me. Before, I also always had this angst within inside me. I always had this anxiety, this high energy, and I never could let it out. I never could release it. And it was a space where it just kept building and building, and it was always inside of me, in this anxiety. It was so terrible. And now, ever since I've just let go and I've radically started to love myself, I just feel a sense of peace and calm. I feel relaxed and grounded. And, you know, I'm human. Some things razzle me. Something big frazzled me this morning. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's not even close to where it used to be, where I can just sit and be calm. This peace that I enjoy and I have now, it's just so liberating. You know, before my transition, I was full of anxiety and I had so much dysphoria that I wasn't even cognizant of. But now it's just sitting at a place of peace. It's so wonderful. And I think this is why I really want to help other trans individuals. Because even though my way won't necessarily work for you, you have a way that works for you. And I believe that full-heartedly. And that's why I love helping people, and I have helped people, because it's just like we all have our unique strengths and values that make us who we are. We all have our amazing uniqueness. And there's some universal things like loving yourself radically that is so important when it comes to feeling that sense of calm and peace. And it's just like, I wish I had the words to describe it better, but it truly is amazing. And I think it has come a lot to radically loving myself. So in this podcast, I'll link it below, the lady wrote, why is spending time radically loving yourself selfish? It's not. What is selfish is to feel guilty about yourself, about how you look, and constantly beating yourself up for it. because then you're spending unproductive time focusing on yourself. And it made me think, how often in society is it okay? We have this negative bias where we're always beating ourselves up, always being critical, self-critical of ourselves, that we didn't do this, we didn't do that. And I think this lady makes a good point where this sounds, to me, more selfish. Because when you're spending time beating yourself up, that is unproductive time wasted, because it's not truly helping anything. Whereas if you take time to be completely loving yourself and radically loving yourself, not only do you feel the benefits, and I felt the benefits, I feel the benefits of radically loving myself, but I feel like I'm more available for those around me. I'm more available for my family, my friends, my significant other. I'm more available for my clients. And this comes by this balance of making sure I'm taking time to radically love myself. And so that's the biggest thing, is I feel like it's so important just to radically find this radical love. And it can be a challenging thing. I know that. I have experienced it. And there's not a map that can help anyone. And it all comes by just doing that deep personal work. So I invite you all to come and take that first step and invite you to this personal work. I am starting a group. And this group is called Owning Your Transition, and it's going to start in about 2 weeks in early February, late January. Haven't set specific dates yet, but I invite you guys to sign up below for it. As well, if you're watching this video and you made it all the way through to the end, if you use the code OWN, OWN, then you will receive the member discount for $10 per session for this group. Original price is $25. You will get it for $10. So that's pretty exciting. If you guys have any other questions, I invite you all to go check out my website or book a free 30-minute connection call with me so you can talk to me and we can explore the challenges that you might be coming within yourself and maybe how to radically love yourself. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.